that's it. So we can then break that away, and you can see that it leaves a hole. It's left for you then to get your file and file nice and smooth all the way around. So you could do with a big half round file for the bottom and a round file to get into the corner. So I'll just file that up now. Again, I'm leaving on the paper just to give it a bit of protection, because often you cut like that and you've slipped the file and again you've scratched it. So do it as carefully as you can. A little bit annoying, it does tend to make a rasping noise, so you might want to put your goggles on. Remember, if you've got somebody that's coming along to see you and standing there talking incessantly at you, then give him this job to do. Someone else can do this. It's a bit of a long, tedious job. The lads have got on great with the wishbones at the back. I know that they've told you which way they go, which way the diagonal bars go. They've told you that the shopper mount goes to the top, and these are the hub carriers that we've noticed that we've had to just put that hole in it there. Now the reason that hole's been left out is because there are different types of rear drum axles. There are the big drum and the little drum, and they've both got different wheel cylinders are in a different place. So you'll have to decide which you've got, the big drum and the small drum, and find out the corresponding area that the bleed nipple and the pipe goes through, and just either drill 2 holes, or as we've done, we've drilled a couple of holes and then cut them out with a jigsaw to give you an elongated hole for the wheel cylinder. When we start to put the rest of it together, then you'll see the sequence that you need to go. But you need to put that hole in to correspond with the back plate that you've got for the drum axle. If you're fitting disc brakes, then you'll have to get another package from us. We sell a supplement to the standard package, which will have a different hub carrier for the disc brakes.
We fitted the rear wishbones, so what we need to have next is we're going to have a hub carrier that's here. You'll notice that we're fitting the passenger side here, so you're going to need your hub carrier. There'll be 2 of these which will be handed, and what you want to be finding is one with the whole slot there cut out, and your plates here on this side, so that's going to be in that direction there. We've also got here, we've got a wheel cylinder. This is a nice new wheel cylinder. You could use the old cylinders that you've took off your donor vehicle that you bought. We've also got the back plate here, and we've got the short drive shaft for the passenger side, and there's a longer drive shaft for the driver's side. Also for the wheel cylinder, you're going to have the really small bolts, set screws that you took out. Michael's got the 2 spindles that you're going to put through. There's the shorter of your 10mm spindles. We've got the bolts here that we took off. That's also for your donor vehicle. It's going to fit back on. So we think that's most of the components that we're going to need at this stage. So we're going to take his hub carrier, and of course you've made sure that your inner tubes there, everything fits through, your spindles go through, and that actually fits on your hub carrier before you started. So I'm going to take the top wishbone, feed that through there, yeah, line up bottom wishbone, you may just have to tap that in. With the mallet. I recommend that you use a soft rubber mallet for this, or maybe a wooden mallet wouldn't hurt. Again, this is intended to be a nice tight fit because obviously you don't want a lot of travel or slopping on your vehicle. We're going to use as a podger. Just tweak that into position. That's it, I've got that mark on my side.
I need it now.
Just a minute.
Slight burr on the same side of it. Okay. You got it?
Yeah.
You got it?
Just about.
Go too far.
While you're knocking your spindles through, you will have to line your holes up. Don't try to knock your spindle all the way through without lining it up because you will damage your threads. So we've got that hub carrier on there, that's lovely. You see it's all in line, it all moves nice. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take this drive shaft and his back plate. So what you need to do is you'll take your wheel cylinder, and you'll fit that on there with your small screws, small set screws.
These drive shafts will have to be checked thoroughly before fitting. That is the bearings, the joints, the oil seals, the rubber gaiters. If you're unsure of this, consult a Haynes workshop manual, or you could, which would be a lot better, to go out and buy exchanged items.
So one thing I did forget to mention is, of course, at the same time you'll want your four packing plates, I should say. These go between your backing plate and your hub. Pack it off, and just because you'll notice that your back of your backing plate isn't flat, so it'll need packing off of that face there. So what we're going to do is now I'm going to feed on the backing plate. That's right, isn't it? So, straight down there. Line up your holes with the holes that's in your boss there. Now you'll notice on your packing, plates that you've got two different sort of shapes here. You've got one that's a rather small bump and one that's a large bump, and make sure that all those are in the same position. So I think we've got the backing plate on backwards there, have we? Right, I've just been told. So I've got to flip that over. Sorry, and that is that way. Your wheel cylinder is going to be underneath there. So next you come with your four packers. You're going to put that down. You can see that that goes that way on. You'll notice it here on your backing plate that you've got two bulges that come up, and obviously that is why your plate's been cut out to miss those, so you can't get the wrong way around. Make sure you don't get it the wrong way around. I'm going to put two bolts through all that there. So now we can lift that up. feed it through the hole. Drive shaft in, make sure it goes right into that hole there. Now you will notice that here you've got quite a bit of spring, and this is intended, obviously you've got rubber mounted in there, and it is intended that it just pushes in and it keeps a little bit of pressure on at all times. This is to stop your spindle from coming out. So you're going to line up your bolts. Can be quite awkward. Push that through. There. Yeah. So Michael's going to put that in. Now you will need some washers and locking nuts. Obviously we need locking nuts on the back of these bolts. So I'm just going to put that on to finger tight. You can only put it on finger tight anyway.
Two.
So once you've got your first two bolts on, obviously there's two more bolts to do in those holes. Just trying to push it.
Top.
Now you've got that in position, you tighten that up, and obviously you do the exact same procedure on the opposite side. So what we've done now, after we've fitted the wishbones and the sub carrier and all his back plate and drive arms and everything, we've gone out, we've bought a brand new set of brake shoes and a spring set and all that. That's off the spring set, which we've already used off. We've also gone out and bought a brand new set of brake drums. As you can see, we've also got this brake adjuster here. Now, we're not going to go into too much detail into how you assemble that. You should have some working knowledge of that, because you've stripped that off your donor vehicle. You could use your old bits off your donor vehicle if you feel that they're good enough for reuse. You could clean them up and spray them, whatever you wanted to do. Here we have half of the pack that I've shown you earlier. As you can see, we've assembled it. We've got a brake adjuster here, the shoes on here. We've got all the springs and everything, where they go. If you do have trouble assembling that set, you could consult a Haynes manual or whatever you wanted to do, any other sort of subscription or whatever you've got that will explain that to you. So once you've put all your brake shoes and everything on, you'll need to tighten this nut up here. And once you've tightened that nut up there, you can then take your brake drum and you can fit that on. So, and that's that. Next we're going to come to fit the front shock absorber. You can tell this is the front because it's blue. So this is going to sit in here, and your spindle is going to go all the way through all that section. So first of all, as you can see, the hole is not going to line up with the hole, so what we'll have to do is make a little lip here. And to do that,
what we've done is fashion some small pieces of steel to do that bend. We've curved the edges there. We've made them out of
15mm thick sections, and that's going to be 3.5 inches long, which is going to marry up to your measurement here, and your radius is going to sit here.
So what we're going to do is going to tape them together.
So you've got them back to back. You're going to run a piece of masking tape or similar on the back.
Like so.
That allows you to fold those into like a hinge. Sit those in there like that. And you're going to run that parallel with the top of your box section there. And just clip it on. Obviously make sure you removed all the burrs and everything that you may have put on grinding that curve there. Couple of clamps on that. Right.
Just bend it up slightly.
Just going to bend it roughly to about 45 degrees, something like that. Maybe a bit less. And that gives you a nice bend like that. And that will accommodate the radius of this section here on your shock absorber. Now we'll come and we'll sit the shock absorber in there. Just as you see on your bottom wishbone, there's 2 holes there. They're going to take 2 8mm set screws. You're obviously going to use locking washers eventually on these bolts and nuts. Locking nuts, I should say. You're just going to tighten those up a little bit to make sure that it's pulled down onto level with the wishbone. So next, before you put your spindle through that hole there, what you're going to do is you're going to line your shock absorber up with the centre of the hole that you cut inside of your body, and make sure that's nice and parallel running up there. Then you'll need 4 washers, and you're going to get a section of this polished stainless steel tube here. And you're going to have to measure your gap that you've got, and you're going to cut 2 packers. One will sit in there, one will sit in there with a washer at either end. And we've already roughly measured out, and we think that we're going to have the tube 66mm long there and 20mm long there. You may have to adjust that according to where you've cut your hole. So now I'm going to take the spindle that we see we've put a nut on this to protect the threads. So obviously you're going to have to just tap this through the hole. That one's gone through lovely actually. So then you need a washer through there, like so.
And the longer of your tubes.
So you're just going to feed your bar through, the spindle I should say. Just tap it through gently. So you can just see it, and you're going to need another washer. So you're really going to need a hand with this, so I'll get somebody around and help you out. So we've just got that started now. As you can see, we've got his washer on and we've got it roughly halfway through that to the section here. I'm going to tap that through. So you may have to get something in there just to push your inner tube back. Make sure you're not pushing your tube out of your bush. Alright. So again, another washer is going to go on there.
The last bit we've got to fix on this shocker assembly here is it's very difficult to get in. You've got a small piece of tube and two washers to get in there. So what we're going to have to do is hold them together like so and tape them together so that you can get them in the hole. If you're going to hold that for us, like that. I'll use some
Try and
tape.
hold them roughly in line to start with. So leave a bit of excess tape. Hold that back on itself. Leave yourself a little tab that'll let you take it back off, take your tape
So now
back
what
off.
you can do is shove it into that gap, get it in, and it's got to be that tight so that it holds it all exactly together.
Make sure it is really a tight fit, so that's the only thing that stops your shock absorber from moving side to side. So you need it to be a tight fit.
So we'll now try and get that in.
I'm going to try and get this on the spindle.
Probably a bit from the side.
That's it. So we're going to put a washer there, we're going to put a washer on the inside here, they're all on the inside, and then you're going to put your nuts on and tighten that all up. As you can see, that's got that in position. That's yeah.
We move now back onto the engine, and we've got the engine in the hole with the original Ford tangent aluminium engine mountings and the Hydra mounts, and they're sat on the top hat Robin Hood mounts, and then the Robin Hood mounts are sat on the two 3mm thick angled long members each side that the engine rests on the aluminium floor. These long members spread the weight over the whole of the floor. Remember, the floor is 3, 4, possibly 5 thicknesses thick. We have got the exhaust on and it's tightened up, although all the bolts aren't already in it, and we've got a good gap around the hole. And we've now got to wobble the engine like that to make sure that nothing's catching on the gearbox, isn't catching on the tunnel, the exhaust isn't catching on the hole, nothing is touching, the starter motor's clear of the underneath. We now need to kind of fix this engine in permanent now. I would say we have provisionally checked the steering shaft, and the steering shaft is looking good. So we are going to fix this engine in permanent. Now I will remind you all that this application is for the Pinto engine, and this body has been predominantly built for the Pinto engine, so it does go in with a minimum of fuss. Those of you who are fitting different engines will need to address the engine fitment in a different matter, but this covers the engine, the Pinto engine. With the package that Michael bought in addition to the basic package, he got the top hat engine mount for the Pinto, he got the manifold, he got one or two other bits, and one of the bits was a gearbox plate, which is a straightforward 3mm thick mild steel plate. There is always a little bit of, there's also a bit of tube that you cut into 4, and you cut the pieces 1 inch and 1/8 long, and you cut 4 of them off, and these act as spacers. We've already fastened the original Ford Sierra rubber mounting from the rear of the gearbox onto the bottom of this gearbox, but I'll show you another one. Here's another one, and these are usually in good condition unless the gearbox has actually leaked oil, and then that's obviously gone onto the rubber and made the rubber soft. But this is, as we'd imagine, quite a good one. And although some of the rubbers come unbonded from around the edge of it, then the majority of the rubber is still bonded quite well to the metal base, the mild steel base. What happens with this is that you drill out those rivets. Most of them are riveted on, some are got nuts and bolts. So you drill out those rivets, and then you'll trim that mounting off like so on both sides for it to fit into the tunnel. And then with those, take the centres of the holes that's in that plate, and you'll drill more holes in that mounting like that, and like that, like that, and like that, to correspond with those holes. Obviously you can put it on top or something like that. Then with that mounting drilled and the holes already in it, we put, very very simply, we put this spreader plate underneath the car. And with this underneath the car, directly underneath the mounting, then wherever we can, we'll drill holes in this, like so, from underneath, so that it comes through the aluminium floor of the car, and we can then put large washers on the top, and we can bolt this in. Then obviously, as you would imagine, all that happens is that those spacers there go in between the aluminium floor and the underside of the gearbox mounting. And that's it, pretty simple. There's lots of other ways you can tackle the gearbox mount, but that is the most straightforward way. And remember that with nearly all the applications, the different engines, the Duratec, the Zetec, even the Vauxhall engines, it's pretty definite you'll be using a Ford Type 9 gearbox as we have here. And remember that in most cases that rubber mounting I've referred to, the Ford mounting, goes hard up against the centre cross member. Along the same lines, while the scuttle is off the car, then we need now to give commitment to these inner load-bearing, load-spreading members. So if the cameraman would like to come down here, I'll be able to show precisely where you would drill this. So with the scuttle off, we really need to drill through these top hat mountings, through the holes that exist there already, through the 3mm, and then through the aluminium floor. So we know definite we can get a pistol drill in there, so we'll drill those two, and if we can get a pistol drill in the other side, and we'll drill the other two. And then all we need is a relatively, just a few more smaller holes, 8mm ones will do, probably there like that, and anywhere where you can get a pistol drill in to drill those holes. This side's a little bit more difficult with the exhaust